interestingly, get a bunch of private messages and emails asking questions, making comments. Um, Most of it either asking for help or very positive. So that's we love that. I encourage everyone, stop right now and put comments in the bottom. And what I wanted to do and why I came on here, despite looking like I look with moving and running, God, man, I tell you, man, go up and down one flight of stairs, hauling boxes and stuff, moving stuff up to the office and other areas, um, 15 times in a hour frame. I mean, you realize you need to get out and start exercising some more. So, kind of beat up here, but we're going to talk about. I'm actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I did when I first started driving and what I did for actually throughout. I had over 1 million miles on there, and I use this process to track my um, profits or loss during. I used to track things on a weekly basis, and I used to use this on a to track this process. So I'm going to show that to you. What I'd love you guys to stop right now and put in the comment is: do you track um, on a load everything? What actual profit, loss, expenses, revenue is happening right in the moment as you're out there doing it? Do you do it at the end of the month? How do you do it? Don't do it at all. Let us know. Stop right now. Put that in the comment. We'd also love you to like the video and make sure you subscribe. So, and any other comments you might have, we want to get some feedback for you. Um, and all right. Other thing about getting old, about going upstairs is, the site here. Um, Hitchcock Transport. Thanks for the new subscribe. I'll go check out your site here in a little bit. And so while you're watching here, one of the things that I'm trying to do here is um, right. Listen. Owner operators booking their own loads. If you know anything about me, that's really kind of where I kind of grew up. Started 2010, leasing on owner operators and helping train them working, booking their own loads. So that's kind of in my heart there. Though. So glad to hear that. Love to. What I'm trying to do here is to get a conversation going with other people like yourself, Hitchcock, and be able to raise the awareness of it's about profitability. No, I'm not still an owner operator. I got some financial problems, had to sell my company. And then from my standpoint, I had some health issues. I've actually lost sight in one of my eyes and not eligible to get my CDL. Not that I was really jumping at going and do that, but that's one of the drawbacks there. And I had gotten out. I haven't driven for God, probably, I don't know, probably going on 6 years now. Business started growing too much that we couldn't. I spent more time sitting in the driver's seat with the computer on the steering wheel than I was driving. So it was time to put somebody else in the truck and get into the office running the business, and love that. I mean, I love doing that. But love to hear. Wow, 20 years. Yeah, I wasn't that long, but I got hit over 1 million miles, safe driving miles. Cross my fingers that I keep doing that in the vehicle. Um, so, anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And I'll take a look at your channel. I'd love to. What I'm saying is, what we're trying to do here is trying to get a conversation going about raising the awareness of awareness to other owner operators about focusing on profitability and what we're doing. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to make this real short here, is what I used to do, because I got a lot of private messages here asking about how do I track some of these things. So one is I have a process that I used to teach our owner operators on figuring out what their minimum gross revenue per day they needed in order to cover all their business expenses, their fuel, everything based on a certain number of miles they expected to drive a week. We talked about that in the last message. I got a lot of messages asking, well, how do you do that? It's tough for me to do that while I'm in the truck. And I get it, because I was not the organized person in the truck. But what I found that worked out really well is, here comes to the moving part. I go to do this and I realize I got all my markers and stuff, packed up and moved away. So I'm not sure if you can see this, but if you see that little box there at the top, that's really where I write everything as far as when I was doing everything. So where I see this, this here, this would actually start up here. So really what I would do is, and I'm using this as an example here. So what I would do is, if I knew, for example, let's say my fixed expenses were $1,000 a week. So I knew that I tracked everything on a weekly basis. So if I knew that I had $1,000 that was just going to be spent, whether the truck moved or not, I put that in there, I put it in parentheses. That's a accounting process for a negative number. Okay. So I would start out with there. And what I would do is every page I would have, so let's say, we're starting out here. This is our first load. So I'll call it load that I'm running, load 1000. Okay. So I'd start every sheet. This is my equivalent of my load sheet that I would have, where I put all the details. So I used to have like one of those big metal clips that I put here to hold it together. And this was how I kept everything in there. On the back side, I'd actually have the rate confirmation if I printed that out, or other information. But I put all my notes down here about the load, so I had easy access to it. So this is what I would do. So let's say I booked a load, and let's say the load was $800. So now what we're looking at, $800. So after we did that there, basically what I'm saying is, gotta love the screen. Hopefully you guys can understand that as far as the webcam, which puts everything in reverse. But basically, so I had a positive $800. I started out with negative 1,000. So I'm now a negative $200 after my first load. So now I go out and I fuel, keeping it simple. I'm going to say I get $300 in fuel. Put that as far as a negative. Now I'm negative $500 for the week. Okay. So see how I'm writing that down there? So I run the load. Everything goes great. I'm negative $500 for the week. Again, reverse. I wish I could write reverse. So I finish out this load. What I do is I switch over to the next page. I got load 1001, and I usually put the date at the top as well, so that, because this also came back, and I use this a lot for my accounting. And what I do is I put at the top, what did I say? So I pull over my negative $500 over to the next sheet for the next load that I had there, load 1001, $500, August 1st, 2018. And then, so let's say I booked $1,000 load. I come down here. Now I am positive $500. See how we have that there, positive $500. And then I would go through, and any expense, anything that I had that went throughout the week, I would continue to basically do this process. And I'd flip over sheet to sheet to sheet. So when I came down to the end of the week, I knew down to the penny how much I made or lost for that week based on the fixed expenses and the variable. Now, what I used to do is instead of using a variable fixed or a variable maintenance, what I would do is I would actually put a daily or weekly, as I worked it out there, what I was putting into a maintenance account, so that I had that. Now, I also, let's say I went in and I had some tires replaced, right? I would go ahead and I would actually take that as an expense for that week, because my goal was to build my maintenance account, and hopefully at the end of the week, I would be positive, even if it was only $1 positive. I was okay with that. If I was negative, what I would do from that negative, well, honestly, what I would do was I would pull from my maintenance account what I needed in order to pay my personal expenses, what I needed. I tried to keep as little out of there as possible. Now, the numbers that didn't go in there, if I went in, I got coffee or went to Walmart and I did some shopping, those numbers didn't go in there. That's something that comes out of my profit that I pay for with my profit, just like you would, if you had a job and you worked from home, you went grocery shopping, you're not going to write that off. So I would do this on a weekly basis. Now, so there's two reasons why this really worked for me, and I'd love to hear comments if you do something different, what you do. But there's two reasons why this worked for me. Was number one is it always put in the forefront of my mind where I was for the week. Now, my goal was I wanted $1,500. I needed to make $750 a week in order to cover my portion of the household expenses. I wanted to make $1,500 a week, is what my goal was. So any given day, I could look down and I could see that where I was to that goal and what I needed to do. Now, I'll tell you something else that people, I hear a lot of people do is, oh, don't get fuel on Friday, because people are released on, don't get fuel on Friday because you're not going to have as big a check. That's a cash flow. Understand the difference between cash flow and profit. You're going to buy fuel. As much as I wanted to make $1,500 a week, I also understood the concept of I wanted to buy the cheapest fuel before fuel taxes that I could, and if that meant I was in a area that I got the cheapest fuel I could on a Friday, I would fill up my tanks. I'd jump up and down, stomp on them, get as much fuel as I could in that tank. I would rather have $1,000 week because I bought fuel on Friday than have a $1,500 week and spend an extra $40 on fuel because I wanted to worry about my cash flow. So I was conscious of the difference between cash flow and that $1,500 number, and also long-term profit. So I wasn't so militant about it that I would say, listen, I got to get that $1,500, but I really used that as a target and as a goal. Now, what I switched over to, and this was after I actually got out of the truck and started working with owner operators, what I switched over to was a minimum daily gross revenue number that encompassed the profit that you needed to make, and helping drivers understand that they need to hit that minimum gross revenue number. So that's a process that I'm going to put down in the comments. If you info@Velocity Group, you know what, I think I can go ahead and do this here. I'll put it in the comments, but there we go. Pretty sure I did that right. So that's the email address there. If you go ahead and you send me an email asking for information on this, I'd happy to help you out with talking about this. I really appreciate that. Again, go ahead, please subscribe, hit, we're starting to do a lot more of these lives. Hit that little bell button so you get notified when we're doing something live. Thank you, Hitchcock Transport, for all your feedback there. Yeah, I look forward to talking to you soon. Everybody soon. Thanks a lot.